Hi, Anthea.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you.
We made it through the holidays
We did.
with bells on, right?
I was sick most of December, I feel like. So
Me too. I bet at least half the people on the call were sick, at least.
I know
How
we
was it?
drove to Nebraska. I told my husband, "Oh no, I'm fine. We can go to Nebraska." And we got all the way there, and then I didn't leave the hotel room for 2 days. He's like, "I knew we shouldn't have driven to Nebraska." I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't have."
What a bummer.
And it looks like we're recording all of our chit chat.
Good. All right. Well, it is top of the hour. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order as long as we have a quorum. I believe we do. Candace, Tim, James, LaDon. We're good. Let's go ahead and start with the approval of the December 2022 meeting votes. Or meeting, isn't it meeting minutes? Or is it meeting votes?
It's votes, actually, because it's the summary of the meeting and your votes that you're confirming.
Got it.
They're not really minutes.
If we can get a vote for the votes.
A motion.
So moved.
Second. Candace.
Thank you, Candace, for the second. And the motion was brought forth by, was that LaDon?
It was.
Okay, excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cole. Excellent. The votes pass. Next up, Allison George with the director's comments and budget update.
Thank you, Anthea. Thank you all for your flexibility and the adjustment made from in-person to virtual, which has been our world for almost the last 3 years now. So thank you for going back to the virtual concept, because this is a busy week on Capitol Hill. So I'll start with that. Legislature started yesterday, and the department has a couple of SMART Act hearings, actually. First off, we have the Joint Health Committee, where we would do a report, a SMART Act report on housing assistance for persons transitioning from the criminal and juvenile justice systems. So that report will be published in live tomorrow with the SMART Act hearing, and that will be in the afternoon. Then we have our committee of reference SMART Act hearing, where we present for the department, and then on our annual report, our housing report that we started doing last year. And so that will be a public document as of next Tuesday, the 17th. So more to come, and we will share that information with the board and report out on that in our next meeting, I believe. Also, the governor and lieutenant governor were sworn in for their second terms today. And so the state of the state happened. And I'm very happy to report that housing was mentioned 3 times in the state of the state. And so the governor is committed to lowering the cost of housing for all Coloradans. And I actually wanted to quote some of his state of the state, because I just thought it was so relevant to our world. And so I wanted to make sure folks knew what the governor had said. So these are his words, not mine, but I wanted to share them with you. Nobody could have predicted all that these last 4 years would bring, the many trials and tribulations and challenges, nor then can anyone say with certainty what the next 4 will bring. But as your governor, as a fellow Coloradan, I promise you this: whatever comes our way, we will face it together with resourcefulness, innovation, grit, and vision. We will protect our freedoms, that all Colorado way of life, and together we will build a Colorado for all, secure in the knowledge that our best days are still ahead. We will work together to build a future that all of us can be proud of, and there's no time to waste. Our work begins now. So those are words from the governor in his State of the State that he just had earlier today. And housing and reducing the housing costs for Coloradans is a commitment that he's made, which also means it's clearly a part of our world, but clearly a focus that we'll be carrying forward for the governor. I'm very excited about that. A couple of things that I wanted to note that will help these efforts. First, I wanted to mention the local officials toolkit that we've talked about. And so that was a result of House Bill 1271, for those that are keeping track, that provided funding for us to provide technical assistance, intensive technical assistance. And so that website went live. Remember, we hired enterprise community partners and community builders to carry that forward. And so that website is live. And we can provide a link so that you can take a look at what that work will be doing. That's available to anyone. Thank you, Andrew. But in addition to that, we'll be doing special applications for local governments to apply to provide that intensive technical assistance if they're desiring that. So that will come in the next couple of months or next few months. And so keep a lookout for that. And then the other thing I actually wanted to hand off to Andrew Paredes and just ask him to share how that transformational affordable housing, workforce housing NOFA is going, because it's been quite tremendous. And I thought he might want to share kind of what that demand looks like and what we're seeing. Andrew, did you want to provide a little information on that?
Certainly. I am going to the up to the moment list. We posted this NOFA in early December. The first round of LOIs were received by December 10th, and they totaled 60 letters of intent for approximately $360 million worth of asks. The staff then engaged with potential applicants over the next 20 days to go over their LOI and see if they were ready to make an application. And approximately 22 of them did indeed make an application. And I think that the application number came down to about 165 million. Now I'm definitely going off of approximates here. I don't have the collated spreadsheet. So as you can see, demand is quite strong for this NOFA, which is backed by both House Bill 1304, 138 million, as well as House Bill 1377 of 105 million, depending on the application type. Does it touch kind of the homelessness spectrum? Does it touch the affordable housing spectrum? That will kind of determine what avenue the funding recommendation goes. But in layperson's terms, we can think of this as approximately $240 million of resource, of which we have initial applications for 165. And then we have gotten about 20 LOIs for the January 10th LOI deadline. So 20 additional letters of intent that we will begin to work on this month, along with the applications that staff is underwriting based off of those December letters of intent. And then our Office of Homeless Initiatives, or OHI group, has their first opening for letters of intent for primarily homelessness program, resource, operating, and services type funding, where LOIs, I believe, are due February 1st with applications due February 15th. So more to come on that front, probably at our next board meeting.
Thank you, Andrew. And I lied. There's actually one additional thing, and that was Proposition 123. I wanted to mention that yesterday, Gary Investments sponsored a kickoff of stakeholder communications. And so Andrew Paredes, Mo Miskell, Connor Everson, and Kristen Toombs all participated in that meeting. and in the discussions. And so just as a reminder, the eligibility of funds for the Division of Housing, because 40% of Prop 123 is to be transferred to the Division of Housing. And so the eligible uses for the funding to the division is homelessness, home ownership, local planning efforts, and then also the community assessments and baseline report. And so as a part of that discussion, Connor Everson, that's the manager of our analysis and research team, talked to the group about what that baseline should look like. And so this is for eligibility and assessment for communities, because they have to opt in to this program to receive funding. And so as a part of that, he is going to develop some draft baseline data for communities to assess. And he's going to be developing this baseline draft of information about the housing stock in each community this month in January. So communities can start thinking about how they can qualify, how they can opt in to eligibility for Proposition 123 funds. It is important to note that that eligibility and that opt-in is only for the Proposition 123 funds. It is not for the other funding sources that the state or others administer. So that got kicked off yesterday. Meeting went really well. Great dialogue with stakeholders. And we're happy to answer any questions that you all might have. Sam.
Allison, thank you again for such a great report. I was looking over the information that was provided this morning with regard to the funds available report. And I'm going to ask this, and I'm going to make up the reason is for the new members, when in reality it's for me, because I keep forgetting the answer that you give me every time I ask the question. So this is for the new members, of course, not for me.
Of course.
Tell me again, you know, we've got available appropriations in the first column for 2023, and then we have applications submitted in the last column, and sometimes those numbers are greatly different. And you know, as a responsible commissioner, how do we feel good about approving funds that it looks like we don't have, when I know you're going to tell me that they're coming later in the year or something like that? But how do we get a better picture of what we're really doing so that we don't feel like we're kind of making capricious decisions?
I appreciate that question. I know Andrew does
Totally
as
for the new
well.
members. Totally for the new members.
Totally for the new members. So one thing is Andrew wants to update that state housing board budget so that it is understandable to new board members and board members that have been around for a while. And so that is, I know, on the radar of Andrew and team, and wanting to work with all of you to come up with a document that that works best for folks. So the other thing is that's challenging about this is with different funding sources, we receive money at different times. And so we have a HUD program year, and that actually might vary by the funding source. So we have different funds that are coming in at different times of the year on the federal side. On the state side, we also have funds coming in at different times of the year. The majority, I don't know that I can actually even say that now, but a good part of our funds come in at the beginning of the fiscal year. But that is not the case with funds like vendor fee. And so we actually get money on a monthly basis for vendor fee. And so you'll see applications that you'll be reviewing, and I don't have that budget in front of me right now, but you'll see applications that have been submitted and are being considered for those future funds. And so those would be in underwriting right now, or could be considered for the state housing board right now for next month's funding sources, if that helps explain the situation.
Yeah. And again, I kind of remember that being the explanation. And I just wish that there was, and maybe we could all work with Andrew on it a little bit, finding a better way to represent what really dollars we have available, so that, it just might be more helpful. Maybe it's just for me, but.
Gotcha. Andrew looks like he wants to jump in here too.
Yeah, just, I'll add to that a bit. I appreciate that, Sam, and I have a couple of mock-ups that I'm happy to share with you all in terms of ideas of how to graphically represent this. I am sure by looking at this that the primary concern is with our HDG line item, where it shows that we currently have $5.3 million available, but staff's actively underwriting $37 million worth of applications.
Right.
And so that, rightly so, as a board member, should pose a question. As Allison said, this is the first funding source we've had that regularly comes into us every month. And so our run rate over the last 6 months is approximately $5.5 to $6 million of new vendor fee deposited into the DOH account each month. So if you look at that $37 million of applications, that really represents about 6 to 7 months of future deposits, right? So we try to stay in that sweet-ish spot where we are reviewing applications today that go through underwriting and then contracting that we kind of expect to churn in and out within that time frame. So right now, that's kind of the place where we want to live is in this, are we looking at applications that represent monies we expect to continue to come in through regular sales tax revenues over the next 6 to 7 months? In that case, that's what this is telling you. But you deserve, and I'll give you some ideas of a better graphical representation of that instead of me explaining it audibly every month.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Candace, you had your hand up as well. I don't know. Did you have additional questions?
I have two questions. Actually, it's two different topics, but one, I was wondering how we're doing on staffing. And two, I was wondering on how what is our timeline for contracting, if we're, able to keep up and if it's on time or if it's a little delayed. Just updates.
Thank you for that question. So we are working hand in hand with the HR department in DOLA to staff up. We are not fully staffed up. And it is impacting our contracting timelines. And so the timelines are slower than what we are looking for. And so we are looking at some remedies. We're working actually with the state controller's office to multiple things. Like, could we have a third party help us expedite or take some of the backlog off that we've had? In addition, looking at the state's process that has a lot of steps in it. Are there ways that we can marry some of those processes together so that it doesn't touch so many hands? So we're working, we've had a few meetings with the state controller and we're continuing to do that. The state controllers actually come up with ideas as well to help expedite the process. And so I've been really pleased, I'll say, with the support and interest in helping us get these things through. Now, that said, I also think it's important to note, because there's been a lot of conversation about loans in particular, that, the state got $130 million in legislative year 2021. Okay. And an actual year later found out that we couldn't use those dollars for loans because they were federal. And so it took another 4 to 5 months and a bill through the legislature to be signed in to law by the governor to switch that money to general fund. So there was a significant delay in that process because of that. And we're paying for it now because of that as well. So that adjustment has really been a painful process that we've been working through. And so it has caused a backlog that we're looking at A, third-party help, and B, streamlining the system that the state has for approving contracts. Any other questions on that? Does that help?
I think that's great, and I appreciate your patience and your time put on that. I know it's hard for everyone everywhere to find staff and to speed things up. I just know for other purposes in our operation, it's the state's been behind on contracting too. So
Okay.
it's not anybody's fault necessarily. It's just got lots going on. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your patience for us. And I do hope that others also have some of that, because we are working as quickly and fast as we can to get things through. And I know that time is money. And so we're working diligently to improve that time.
Well, pass our thanks on to your staff, because it's important that they know. We know it's not
Definitely.
all their fault. We know that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Candace. I appreciate that. You had one more question?
That's all, the two subjects.
Okay. Okay.
Contracting and staffing, we're good.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else? James.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm assuming that the fiscal year end is June 31st, end of June?
Into June. Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
absolutely. That's why it's a little weird how our different money flows at different times.
Thank you, Allison. Thanks for the update. Everyone who
Absolutely.
chimed in with questions and comments. The agenda that I have in front of me includes the next item as the Olmsted advancement request. And I saw Zach hop on video a minute ago. Should I move to that, or should I follow the agenda that was on the screen?
You follow the agenda that's in the packet. The one that's on the slide has a mistake.
Okay. All right. So Zach?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, good afternoon. I'm here to talk about the Olmsted Advancement RFA. So this is a request for applications that Division of Housing solicited earlier this year for the advancement of the Supreme Court Olmsted decision, really intended to help communities create tenant-based supportive housing. So this is different and distinct from some of the project-based joint underwriting efforts that we've had for single-site new construction supportive housing, but these are tenant-based vouchers that folks are utilizing in the community. And so in partnership with our colleagues from the Healthcare Policy and Financing Department, and Amy Austin, Wraparound Housing Policy Advisor from HCPF, is on if we have any questions specific to HCPF. But we were able to provide tenant-based vouchers and tenancy support services funding, or supportive services funding, to the applicants. And so based on the resources we had available, we were able to make awards to all of the projects that met threshold. So in total, we're providing 295 tenant-based state housing vouchers. These are state-funded vouchers. They're funded through the general fund, through a decision item that Governor Polis advanced last year. And so we are asking the State Housing Board's approval for these to move forward with the applications listed. We're really excited about these applications. They have the ability to serve different priority populations, which also really for individuals coming out of institutional settings, acute treatment units, the Colorado Mental Health Institutes, folks staying in hospitals, assisted living, as well as folks experiencing homelessness in the community. And what's really exciting is through our partnership with Healthcare Policy and Financing, they are going to be helping to fund the supportive services for these individuals through a really neat pilot called SWISHY, the statewide supportive housing expansion effort. And so that is our effort to work with Medicaid as we examine how we can leverage Medicaid to pay for supportive services long-term. So because of HICPUF's involvement, we're able to increase the amount of supportive services funding that we're able to offer for these participants. And I'll stop there unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Zach. Any questions from the board? Tim?
Thanks, Anthea. Zach, it's a great program. I was a little disappointed not to see anybody from the Western Slope on that list, but I know that's not your fault. I think they probably didn't get any applications from that part of the state, but it's definitely needed out there as well. I guess my question is with the tenancy tenant voucher, how portable those are? Does that mean that if those individuals get those vouchers and then move to another location, that they take those vouchers with them?
Yes, they can. It is that challenge around we're trying to create supportive housing programs, which are largely geographically based, right? So what does it mean if somebody is working with Wellpower and Wellpower's catchment area as a community mental health center is the city and county of Denver, and then we want to have an individual port that voucher. So increasingly, I mean, individuals with state housing vouchers can port their vouchers. What we've sort of come up with is around individual agencies can subcontract, but ultimately they still are responsible for those clients. And so if somebody moves from Denver to Greeley, we want to see our lead service provider following up and contracting with somebody locally to continue to meet that client's need, because that they have a set allocation of vouchers. And unless somebody moves to a housing choice voucher or reunites with families, they're still going to be utilizing that voucher spot. And so we want to have the adequate supportive services available to them.
Okay, thanks.
Sam?
Thanks, Anthea. Zach, great presentation. I have to also echo Tim's comments. It sounds like a really great program. It sounds similar to where, in my memory, that there used to be a program that was funded with vouchers and with services from HICPUF, and it was related to Money Follows the Person. Is this kind of like the same program?
It's very similar. So yeah, great recollection. The folks with the Money Follows the Person, division of the other half of the $4.7 million decision item that funded this RFA is going to the community access team and their CAT vouchers, which follow the Money Follows the Person model. What's a little different is that Money Follows the Person model relies on the HCBS, or Health and Community-Based Services waiver. And so through Swishy and through these programs, we're taking a little bit of a different approach to the supportive services than the HCBS program. Really more of HCBS, I think, and the community access team really focuses on individuals exiting nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities to housing. This is more focused on folks who may be coming out of those crisis stabilization units, withdrawal management facilities. So it's a slightly different population. And as a result, we've tried to scale the services. With Swishy and with HICPUF's partnership, we're going to be looking at, are there, the HCBS program may have some challenges that we don't want to replicate as we think about making changes to the state Medicaid plan. So we're really excited to have some entities who are included in this RFA who work with the existing HCBS program. So they're going to be able to make sure we have those insights.
Okay, thanks. Just one follow-up question. Who at the state is responsible for creation of acronyms? Swishy is a great one. I mean, really,
I am particularly proud. I think that's the best. I've said it's the best acronym in state government. So yes, now all the credit I think goes to our colleagues at Healthcare Policy and Financing. Another pretty good acronym.
Right. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Zach, thank you for the presentation. Quick question on the priority population. So you have them as 1, 2, and 3. Is that a ranking in terms of priority, or are they equal in priority?
They are equal in priority. There are some differences in the funding. So HICPUF is really focused on funding the services for priority population 3. And that is because with Swishy, we have multiple cohorts. And so also individuals who are coming out of institutional settings, they have their Medicaid benefits are turned off while they're in those institutional settings. And so HICPUF is really focused on funding the services for that population. Division of Housing will be focused on funding what we call tenancy support services for priority populations 1 and 2.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, moving on to the project application stage. of the meeting. Just a reminder for those who are presenting today, we are a little bit off schedule. I think we have a cushion for some time here, but if you could please keep your comments to under 5 minutes, we'd appreciate it. First up is UAACOG. I'd love to hear how you say that acronym. And presenting is William Quintanilla.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That'll be the UACOG. And thank you for the opportunity. By the way, I'm excited to introduce to you Max Hansen, who is the Regional Housing Director for the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments. And he is on the line, I believe, in case you have any questions specifically. I believe he also does have a short presentation in case you are interested.
I do. So yeah, UCOG's been operating a rehab program here in our 6-county area for approximately 30 years. We've been using CDBG funding to operate that program. Last year, some of our statistics, we had 65% of our qualifying households were actually seniors. 40% of those households we offered program services to had disabled homeowners. 50% of the houses were built prior to 1950, and about a third of them we actually structured as a 0% interest deferred loan, allowing them to make no payments on those projects. Some of our clients in particular, recently we actually just finished up one project where a sewer line had collapsed in this homeowner's home. Approximately July of this summer, we were able to have their sewer line replaced. They were actually using a porta potty for about 2 months. Both of these the people living in the home, they were both elderly seniors. Another client, they were looking to remodel their home to allow better access to restrooms, bedrooms, and everything as they became slightly immobile, wheelchair bound. Through our inspection process, we found that there needed to be some radon remediation in her home, so we were able to contract her with another state program to have that remediated at no cost to her. This new funding actually does increase our AMI limits as well. Under CDBG terms, we were limited to 80% AMI. HDG funds allow us to increase that to 100% AMI. And as of the end of last year, we estimate that would help approximately another 10 homeowner applicants that we had to deny services to last year because they were over that 80% AMI income. So we look forward to being able to continue to provide those services to our region.
Thank you, Max. Any questions from the board? Dan?
Just one real quick one, and maybe Max, you can take this one. In the write-up, it said that upon servicing, loan servicing will begin upon when there's a sufficient income, program income. That was kind of a curious statement for a program that's been in existence for 15, 20 years. What does that mean?
It's well, and maybe William can help me out with it, but our previous loan program was through the CDBG funding, so we have to keep those funding separate as far as how we're charging that loan servicing fee for. Currently, we're still servicing over 70 loans through the CDBG funding we have.
Okay,
That's great.
And why wouldn't you be collecting a servicing fee with these funds when you're
we need to charge that to our program income that we generate through operating the program. So until we actually have funding available to start collecting that, we'd be unable to.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Dan?
Thanks, Cynthia. I think I read that the rates on the loans were 1% to market. Can you talk a little bit about how you determine what rates you're going to charge for these loans, and maybe, what percentage of those are deferred versus not?
Sure. So we structure everything as basically an ability to repay. If we go through budgeting with them, the clients. What we've been doing is if there's, less than approximately $50 per month, they're getting charged 0% interest and those loans are being deferred. We also go off of our income guidelines. So people who are typically at the extremely low income guidelines, they don't get charged anything. Low income is 1%, and then we scale it up from there. So that way, very low, again, 1%, low 2%, 100% AMI would be 3%.
Okay, thank you.
Max, there's a comment in the narrative under concerns that applicants aren't willing to incur debt. I'm a little confused by that. If they're at about 100% AMI, does that comment mean more that they're very cautious to incur debt, or is it that they don't want a loan at all?
Well, a little bit of both. We haven't helped anyone as, we've been using CDBG funds for that. We haven't been able to, offer those services to anyone at the 100% AMI. I think it'll be less of an issue there. It's typically the lower income clients on that scale who, once they hear loan and that they're going to have to repay at all, even if, it's coming out of their estate, or if they sell the home, they're a bit hesitant to, agree to those terms. So.
Thank you. Tim, did you have another question?
Nope, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you all.
Next up is the Rail Yard, and presenting is Olivia Cook.
Hi, yes, I'm excited to introduce Reed McCulloch with the Chafee Housing Trust and also Michael Leahy with Castlewood Capital. So I will hand it over to them. I think I saw they were on the call. Let me double check.
I am on and happy to kick it off. Though, Reed, are you on the line?
Looks like he's in the call and not muted, but Reed, we can't hear you. So maybe try rejoining really quickly.
And maybe in the interest of everybody's time, maybe I'll get started, and then Reed, when you jump on, then I'll turn it over to you. So the Leadville Rail Yards is a 12-unit workforce housing development in Leadville in Lake County. It's part of a master planned development that's been going on for years, taking an old rail yard and turning it into a mixed use for sale master planned community. I live in Leadville part-time, and due to cost overruns and other issues, the rail yard wasn't able to deliver any workforce housing. None of the units that came out of the rail yard were priced so that folks who live and work in the community could afford them. And so the rail yard deeded a half-acre parcel to the Leadville URA, and through an RFP process, Reed McCullough's organization, Chafee Housing Trust, won the award to develop workforce housing on that parcel. Reed, are you on? Cool, I'll keep rolling till you are. So Chafee Housing Trust is a 501c3 based in Chafee County that covers Chafee and Lake County, and they're a community land trust. So their model is to acquire land, develop, and then retain ownership of the underlying land. The residents purchase the homes, only the improvements to the homes, while CHT retains ownership of the land, which reduces the cost of the unit to the homeowner, and a 99-year lease with the housing trust acts as essentially permanent affordability. This project, to be able to meet our AMI, our under 100% AMI requirements, is also utilizing modular construction technology from IndieDwell. And again, CHT itself will manage the development of these 12-unit projects, all of which are priced under 100% AMI. And it looks like we've got Reed.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, I missed.
I did a high-level intro, Reed.
Thank you, appreciate that. Really the points I wanted to hit on, that this is a project that's been long in coming. Lake County's been very hungry to have affordable housing opportunities, and we've been working in there for several years, participating in the discussions, bringing bilingual Spanish and English housing counseling, certified housing counseling services to the county, as well as providing workshops online and in person, really with the goal of providing equitable access to home ownership. Thanks to the developer of the rail yard, a parcel being donated to the city, which was then handed over to the urban Renewal Authority, and eventually ended up in the hands of the Chafee Housing Trust. So we're very excited to build this project out this coming build season, as they call it in Lake County. So it's a pretty narrow window. As Michael mentioned, the modular housing really helps us get a jump start on that. So we're looking to get it completed by the end of the warm season this fall, and occupancy by the end of 2023. 12 units, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, and really providing that first affordable homeownership opportunity to Lake County. So happy to answer any questions. And I'm not sure what Michael presented, but maybe I missed something that you would like to know.
Great, thank you, Reed and Michael. Any questions from the board? Sam?
Thanks, guys, for the presentation. I wasn't exactly sure when I was reading the write-up on what the average or the anticipated sales price of the units was going to be as it compared to the average current sales price of homes in Leadville. And also I guess a little bit surprised by the hard construction costs for a modular unit, and was wondering, if you could help me, with that one. It seemed like it was even higher than stick built.
Yeah, so the average price of the units is 284,000 or 309,000 when you include the 25 grand of down payment assistance that we will be applying for. And so that average price of around 300,000 is about 50% less than the average price of the units being currently produced in the rail yards, which came out between 650 and 750K.
What about the average sale price of just general homes in Leadville? It seemed like in one of the parts of the write-up, it seemed to suggest that the average price was even lower than the 290 or whatever the current price that you're projecting for the new units are.
We might have to take a look at that data point that you're looking at, but it's again between 40 and 50% less than what the average home price in Leadville is. Happy to provide some comps on that as well.
Okay.
But you can't find anything under 450 to 500 grand since the last couple year run up. Of course, there were more affordable homes available before the pandemic, but kind of an old beat up home might be over $500,000 with new inventory in the 6 to 7 range. So these are again coming in at about half of that price.
That doesn't surprise me. I guess maybe it was the data point that I was looking at in the write-up that kind of surprised me, that the average price seemed relatively low. And maybe it was just the time period that it was being measured at. But okay, thank you.
As of July last year, the average townhome or condo price was about $620,000, a $630,000 average, 620 median. So we're coming in, as Michael said, well below that.
Right.
And to answer your question about the modular construction, so we are building very small units, but you can't shrink the cost of kitchen, bathroom, etc. So when you look at the cost per square foot, it does look fairly high. For example, the 1 bedroom unit's about 415 square feet, but very efficient and affordable to live in. And when you look at the other comps on your report, you can see that we're well within the CDOH limits.
Okay. Thank you.
And just one other data point there is that at $200 a square foot, I just recently priced out a multifamily project in Lake County stick built, and the hard cost came out to be almost $400 a square foot. Now we think that we're past the curve of price inflation and some commodities are starting to come down, but as high as that looks on a historical basis, it's materially underneath the current cost of stick built in Lake County, which is partially driven by cost inflation and partially by lack of labor. So the modular approach addresses it is less labor intensive than stick as well, which is another advantage of working with them.
Yeah, I guess in the write-up, it shows that the hard cost per square foot is at $356. I don't know if that's an error or if that's
So that includes the modular cost, which is about 200 a square foot. And that 356 then also includes 100 per square foot of on-site work, as well as fire mitigation, construction management, and the contingency. So that 350 is the hard cost plus the additional cost needed to install the units. But the true cost from IndyDwell is about 200 a square foot.
So I guess my question, Michael, stick built in Leadville is higher than 356 a square foot?
Yes, it's about 450 with the latest numbers that I saw.
Okay, thank you.
Which is truly incredible. It's hard to digest those. Those numbers are truly shocking. And I'm of the opinion that I don't think I would develop a project in the mountains without it being modular at this point.
Okay. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Sam.
Rick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Reed and Michael, congratulations on stepping up on this project. I'm curious about the IndyDwell package. What's their lead time at the moment on getting the product ordered and delivered to the site?
Well, that's a really good question. I won't even attempt to answer the current numbers for you. We started talking to them about this project well over a year ago, and got fast and furious last summer with design. The advantage we had is that we took the product from from River Ridge and M3rd, our two previous projects, and just reconfigured it. So that helped accelerate at least the design time. We're about to go into production in the factory, but that we've been on their schedule for at least 6 months now. And we're looking at a June delivery of the modules.
Right. So are you required to put down a deposit on the order commitment? And if so, has that happened?
Yeah, so there's several stages of deposit. There's the initial to get in the queue, and then as we get to ordering materials and whatnot, there's other increments of deposit. So right now we're into it for about 450,000 with them, and the next deposit's going to be due in about 3 or 4 weeks, and that's looking to be the majority of the construction costs right there, so that they can get the factory floor busy in February.
Okay, good. Well, kudos to the group for winning the bid for the rail yard workforce development site, and I agree with Michael's assessment about any kind of mountain development's got to be modular if it's going to be affordable these days. So again, kudos for stepping up and using modular manufacturing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Agreed. Thank you, Reed and Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Legacy Senior Residences, and presenting is Pamela Gibson.
Yes, hello, thank you. I'd like to introduce Bobby Lucas, President of Cornerstone Housing Group, and Jill Flynn, the Director of Affordable Housing Programs. Bobby, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. Hi, thank you, everybody. Bobby Lucas, Cornerstone Associates, Cornerstone Housing Group. I am going to be presenting on behalf of us as well as the city of Arvada. Unfortunately, there was a conflict and we weren't able to have Carrie from the Housing Authority or the mayor or the Economic Development Director participate with us. Wanted to share with you our excitement on the Legacy Senior Residences. This is a 72-unit independent living senior facility, 3 stories. It's targeting residents at 30%, 50%, and 60% of the area median income. We have been working collaboratively with the city of Arvada and the Arvada Housing Authority since 2018 to make this project come to fruition. We are excited because this is a wonderful infill site that is within a half mile of the major railway. It's within a block of the local bus transit, directly across the street from the grocery store, from a Walgreens, from a bank, several restaurants. The walkability of this particular site is phenomenal for our senior residents. So So that's something that we pride ourselves on, is being able to present a great walkable site. This will be a 3-story development with elevator served. And we are fortunate enough to be partnering with the Housing Authority and working with them to help facilitate and further promote their homeless navigation program. So this particular project will have 8 vouchers for the I don't want to say homeless, but for those who may find themselves homeless for a period of time. We also were fortunate enough to receive full support from the city. This was a strategic plan for the city in 2019 to bring on a minimum of 50 units of affordable senior housing. In cooperation with them, they have committed to $840,000 of financial support on this particular project, and also to help with the funding match for any additional funds presented to us and provided by DOH. Also, we are excited this will be our first project that's going to provide electronic vehicle charging stations. So we are going to be putting 8 of those stations in our parking lot for the use of our residents, as well as just for the community. We haven't quite figured out how we're going to market that, what type of materials we'll be using to let the community know that they are available. But that's something that we're pretty excited to provide. This is new for us, so this is a learning, but it's great because we recognize that this is where everything is kind of moving and graduating toward. So as far as, again, suitability, this is a great location. We're just thrilled to have it and excited that the city has stood behind us and worked with us for 2018. We are through our entire entitlement process with the city. So we are short of just a few things actually permit ready. And so we want to say that's been a great task. It's taken us quite a while to get to this point. As everyone knows, it's a long and tedious process to get through all of that. And we've had several revisions until we've finally come to the city, the civil plans, everything that needs to be done. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you, Bobby. Beautiful project. Any questions from the board? Great presentation. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Jewel Apartments. Presenting on Jewel is Wayne McClary.
Hi, everyone. To present for Jewel Apartments, I got Joe Davidson on the line and Danny Bashan Bell. And this is an 81-unit affordable property in Aurora.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Sam. Good to see you. Hi, Anthea. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your consideration of funding for our 81-unit Jewel Apartments. So if I scoot to the side, in the background is our 50-unit 9 Mile Station senior living property that you all funded and supported. We completed that project in 2020, and we weren't able to have an open house because of COVID. But thank you so much for your ongoing support. You know, echoing the governor's comments, these are historic times, and really this project is a manifestation of really the extraordinary opportunities and challenges that have come about during these times. You all have supported us all through our history. This is our 9th property, and this is with your support throughout our history, we've been able to serve on a continuous basis folks that are far below 80% of the area median income. And in fact, 80% of our residents are at or below 50% of area median income. So we're very excited. We are nearing the finish line on this project. We were able to buy this particular parcel in 2020, right before Governor Polis sent us all home. We are also very near to our permit ready. We're hoping to start construction May 1st on it. This is an exciting project because it truly fits with the City of Aurora's housing strategy. They are working to create almost 9,000 units of housing that's affordable to a whole mix of households starting at 30%, well up to over 100% of area median income. They're working to respond to what they anticipate to be their employment demand going forward. You know, and when we started this project in 2020, we knew at the time it was going to be extremely challenging to get this across the finish line. And at this point, I'd say to you that all in between the tax credits, both state and federal tax credits, with the City of Aurora's support, 2 home awards, their private activity bond award, the Aurora Housing Authority stepping in as a special limited partner, Arapahoe County, the commissioners have been very supportive of home funding, PAB funding. CHAFA will be our construction and permanent financer on this. They also are putting in private activity bond funds. Impact Development Fund has 3 different loans on the project, with you folks hopefully stepping also into the project. That's 18 different funding sources to create 81 units of housing, and we're very excited about it. If you go to the next page, Danny, you can, and maybe even the next page after that. I just wanted these folks to see the site. Tim, I think of you because when I first saw this site, my grandparents had property in Hotchkiss. And so when I first saw this site, it's very reminiscent of their property just outside of Hotchkiss. It's going to afford us to do a 2-phase development. The property is located between Jewel Avenue and Colorado Avenue in Aurora, west of Havana, which is a major northwest business corridor. And so we are on the south portion of that site, 81 units in a 4-story building, 2 elevators. And what we learned in our family during pandemic was how incredibly important outdoor spaces are. So this property, given its rural feel, we will work hard to leverage and amenitize those outdoor spaces. The other thing I think that is significant about this site is it creates for the city some significant public infrastructure improvement. You can see on the west side of the site, we are building Fulton Street, which is a major through street between Jewel Avenue and Colorado Avenue to the north. We hope to create ultimately an intergenerational campus. So after we get our 81 units up and leased, we'll also then step into development of an additional 50 units of senior housing comparable to our 9 Mile Station property, so that you do have that intergenerational mix. What's wonderful about this site as well, and we're working with volunteers of Outdoor Colorado and hopefully the Colorado Health Foundation, you can see on that northern portion of the site that there is hopefully a nature preserve that will create the family. This property was originally subdivided in the 1950s, and the owner's son worked for the Colorado Highway Department. And over time, he would rescue saplings as they were building highways through Colorado and come back and plant them on the site. So a beautiful nature preserve that we're hoping to create some trails through and some ability for folks, especially in this income group, to be able to get outside and really enjoy this property. So very mindful of that. We're right now also doing a community scan to better understand what kind of programs and services we should be putting in this property. This zoning on this site is mixed use institutional an Aurora zoning that allowed for the residential development, but also required that along Jewel Avenue that we create some commercial space. So part of our study right now is to determine who should be in that commercial space. It's about 2,300 square feet. We're hoping to put a medical or a health facility in there. But, we're studying that to make sure that we're responsive. So Danny, I don't know whether you want to talk anything about numbers, or we can answer questions. We're excited. This is an average income project. We decided when we applied, hey, let's take a risk that IRS is going to figure this thing out, which really affords us the opportunity to meet those families and those individuals' needs that walk in the door that make 61% and above of area median income. And yet I'm very mindful that we don't want to have to overcharge for these rents. So our overall average AMI is just over 56%. So again, we so value Wayne's support, the state's support, and really thank all of you for your leadership as you're working through how to leverage and really utilize these funds that have come to the state in these extraordinary times. I don't know whether you would add anything, Danny.
No, Joe, you did an incredible job. I really want to just open it up for questions.
I'll make a comment. Nice to see you both. And I love this unit mix.
Yeah, I'm excited. Very excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that diversity is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. We're very excited about this.
Sam?
Just one question. Was there any way that you could have made the capital stack any more complicated, Joe?
I don't think so.
Yeah. 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 This, I always say to staff, maybe this is too folksy, but I say to staff, it's like, closing one of these deals is like trying to get a litter of puppies to sleep all at one time. You try to get them in the basket and then somebody wakes up and starts playing, and then pretty soon everybody's running around. And so, yeah, I mean, it's what it takes to do these deals. And we knew that when we bought this site in 2020, but we also know that it takes all of these different partners to make these transactions work. So thank you all. Hopefully this fits well in the state's portfolio.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a good project. You should both be proud.
Thanks. Thanks.
Regarding the financing, it looks like in our write-up that many of the sources are still pending. Have those all been locked down now, or are they still all in flux?
They're all committed. We haven't executed agreements on the Arapahoe County or the City of Aurora, but they are committed, and we're just kind of piecing everything together. But yeah, we have our investor and lender on board, Chafa and NDC, as well as Sugar Creek. So, and just I'm not sure if Joe said this, but both of our equity investors have been really, really wonderful to work with, as we have been hoping. We were hoping to close originally in February, and now it's extended out to, I think, April or potentially May. And so they've been really, really great to work with and holding their pricing. So we're grateful.
And I would say that I think once this final piece is in place, everything else starts to fall in place.
Yeah.
We can get to the county, we can get to the city. Everybody knows what the deal looks like, so we can actually get those contract documents in place.
Yeah.
So this gets us across the finish line, and not the finish line, but heads us toward the gate.
Great. Well, thank you both. Thank you for the puppy analogy as well.
Thanks, Anthea. Thanks,
All
everyone.
right.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Moving on to the project application vote stage. Is there anyone on the board that needs to recuse themselves? Isn't any deal? Tim?
No, I don't have to recuse myself. We just need to remember we need to do the supportive housing as well as the applications.
Oh, we need to vote on the supportive housing as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks like it. That was the last sentence of the memo, saying they were looking for our approval. So I'm assuming they need our vote.
What are we going to do without you, Tim?
Someone else will have to read the memo.
All right. I don't see that on here, but we can certainly go for a vote if that's what we need.
It's right above where all the service providers are listed in the box there. It says staff recommends the HSSB approve applications per the recommendation below.
Okay.
I somehow missed it too, Anthea, the first time I read it.
I mean, I guess, Andrew, do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Well, Andrew, it's your job to keep us in check then when Tim leaves us. So let's start then, before we go into the project applications, let's just do this separately, and let's ask for a motion for approval for Olmsted advancement request as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Great, thank you, LaDon, for the second from Tim. Any, or all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Moving on to the project application, I'm going to do these all together since no one was recusing themselves. So a motion for approval for UCOG, the Rail Yard, Legacy Senior Residences, and the Jewel Apartments.
So moved, Madam
So
Chair.
moved.
Thank you, Candace, for the motion. And was the second Cole?
It is. Yep.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Well, we will see you all in a couple of weeks. Again, Happy New Year and enjoy your next couple of weeks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tim.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.